even though your Minnesota Vikings are 6-1, there's always opportunities to make the team better. And the trade deadline's approaching. We put together 4 players who we would like to see the Vikings make a move for at the trade deadline, and we'll get into those right after this. With the trade deadline approaching this upcoming Tuesday, the Minnesota Vikings, they probably don't need to make moves, but as I mentioned in the intro, there's always chance to get better. We put together a list, and in our list, it's mainly offensive players. I could see us making a move for a defensive player, maybe a corner, but I don't see it. Like, I think they're pretty comfortable with what they have. I don't know if they want to give up assets to go get a corner. It would be nice to get someone with a little more experience, what we have behind Patrick Peterson and Cam Dancer, because it is a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
But maybe they could, they could do signings too. I mean, we didn't include signings in this, but I mean, if they made a move for Odell, that'd be sweet. Maybe even Ndamukong Suh, just to really beef up the center of that defensive line. But outside of that, though, I do. I mean, obviously, when you do these things, you want to talk about excitement, and pass catchers are exciting. We do have a couple wide receivers on this list. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see them. I mean, I don't think they'll overpay, but if someone gives them a good deal on a player, I think that Kwesi might take a swing. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, at 5-1 or 6-1, sorry, at 6-1, and all our games haven't been perfect yet. I think at this point, we might as well make a run. I guess you might as well make a run. You might as well pull some sort of triggers. I think at 6-1, I mean, you can't really ask for much better than that. And with Kwesi being new, it would be interesting to see what he decides to do. And I know you're talking about defensive players. I do think we would need some upgrades there, especially at specifically corner, just because it's not very deep. It'll be interesting to see what happens once we see Andrew Booth a little bit more. But the thing about that is we're not seeing tons of defensive players on like out there for trades. Like I've been hearing stuff about Bradley Chubb. They want a lot for him. Like there's a couple defensive ends and then maybe a couple like lower end cornerbacks, nothing too crazy. But as far as wide receiver goes, we do hear quite a bit of chatter of potential trades for and teams allowing potential trades for some decent wide receivers. And I do think it is a position that I would like to see filled because I do think that we Adam Thielen is still a good wide receiver, but I do think he's having a little bit more trouble getting open compared to in years past. KJ Osborne hasn't really stepped up the way I'm hoping. I just think there's a lot of, it seems like quite a little bit too often Kirk Cousins is sitting there with the ball. He has decent protection and none of our wide receivers are getting open. And if there is one that's getting open, it's usually Justin Jefferson a lot of times. I mean, we will see Adam Thielen still, but it's just not consistent enough where he's like a high-end wide receiver too. So I do think if we were to go get a wide receiver, which there is a lot out there, I think this is a good time to do that, especially there's some young ones that, could end up changing a lot for your team for years down the road and not just now. So you're not giving up assets for a rental player for the rest of the year where they're going to be like, for instance, like Kareem Hunt, for instance, he's a free agent at the end of the year. Anyone that trades for him potentially, which isn't going to be us, we don't need it, but they'll kind of get a rental. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, that being said, I say we jump right into our rankings here and see who is number one. But before we do that, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sport podcast. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, get notifications for our videos, all that good stuff. But let's jump in here at number 4. This is a player that this is probably not the best picture for me to pick, but I had to do it. Gesicki doing the gritty against us, but we came back and did the waddle back at them and ended up winning that game. So we win on that. Tight end hasn't been the most consistent. If we got Gesicki, that could be huge for our offense. I still don't think, tight end is still like, you don't need to have a great tight end, and that's the case right now. I'd rather have a higher end wide receiver too, or at least a wide receiver that can bring a different skill level than we already have. What do you think on Gesicki?
Yeah, I mean, he's fine for sure. I'm curious. Like, I don't know why Miami really wants to move him because he's solid. So far this season, 21 catches, 235 yards.
I have a feeling they're not
4
going
touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, especially since they're being competitive this year, obviously, I think they will look to stick with him. I mean, outside of the terrible gritty, it would be nice to get him here just so maybe JJ can teach him a thing or two about it.
Yeah.
But obviously he's got a lot of talent, good blocker. But yeah, like you said, Herb, I think he got a little dinged up today. Johnny Munt is okay. But you could always use the depth. I think Ben Ellefson's been in and out of the lineup. Nick Muse has been activated a couple times, but adding a steady veteran presence like Mike Gesicki would be huge. But again, he's number 4 because I don't see it happening. I don't think tight end is that big to us. Plus, I believe he's on a decently sized contract. So I definitely don't think you need to make the move with him. But again, I mean, like you said, it would be a veteran presence you could add, and he's steady for sure.
And he's good. Yeah, I mean, he's shown to be a pretty good tight end, and you could argue that when being used correctly, he's a top 5 tight end probably in this league, which isn't really saying a ton. There isn't really super big, more than like the top 3. There isn't like huge studs out there. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be a good addition, but I don't see it happening because the reason why people are talking about it, I think in the beginning, is his usage rate was pretty low, but he's scored back-to-back touchdowns in these last 2 weeks. So I have a hard time believing that Miami will get rid of him at this point. But yeah, number 4 on our list.
Yeah. Moving on, number 3, you have wide receiver Chase Claypool.
These top 3 would be really exciting. Our top 3 would be really exciting if we did pull the trigger.
Yeah. But so far this season, Chase Claypool, not his best season, 28 catches, 266 yards, and only 1 touchdown. Obviously, the talent is there. I know his rookie season, he exploded. I think he had a game with 4 touchdowns or something. But you're going to get with Chase Claypool. You're going to get the gap he had last year against the Vikings where he celebrated too much and, wasted too much time. But the guy's got a ton of talent. He's, what is he, 6'4"? Right. Absolutely ginormous.
Yes.
Bringing him in here to be a number 2, he's not a full-blown number 1 receiver. Bringing him in here with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Claypool. That would be huge. And like I said, big target, would be the tallest receiver on the team. I could see it happening. He's one of the players that we've actually heard reports about the Vikings inquiring about. It would be interesting to see what their price would be for him, though, because obviously you don't want to overpay.
Yeah, his size and speed is pretty crazy, and it would bring a different element to our wide receiver corps having a guy of that size, because if there's one thing that we're missing, I think it is size. And I mean, this guy has size and speed, so there is, and he still does have tons of potential, and he has been a pretty good wide receiver. But yeah, I think it would be a good addition. I'd be excited if we were to pull a trigger like this, but I think the other 2 I'd be even more excited about, just because I just think they have just more skill or have had better careers up to this point, especially one of them.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to the next guy, number 2, you have Brandon Cooks from the Houston Texans. Now, here's another guy. I saw a report this morning that the Vikings are one of the teams inquiring about him. So far this year, 32 catches, 354 yards, 1 touchdown. See, the biggest thing about Brandon Cooks, he's moved around, 4 times throughout his career. When was his rookie season? Let's see, 2014. So he's been around, and that's the guy you were talking about. A ton of experience, and obviously, the last couple of years you can't really hold it against him because he's done what he could with pretty spotty quarterback play. But the last year that he had, 2020, was the last year that he had Deshaun Watson. Right? Was 2020 Deshaun Watson playing 2020? Yeah. I think so. 81 catches, 1,150 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So bringing in a guy like that with experience, again, you're getting another short kind of speed receiver. Because he's only 5'10", but he's kind of what I think Brandon Cooks is what people wanted Jalen Reagor to be. He's that type of player, and you can do a lot with him.
Right. And we just haven't seen that from Jalen Reagor. And we can say right now, as far as a wide receiver goes, Jalen Reagor hasn't lived up to that. Or at least we haven't figured out how to use him to that extent. We don't play him. He's not on the field a lot for us. But Brandon Cooks could come in and kind of be that guy who can, you can dump throws off to him, and you get a lot of those little short passes. But he can also get down the field as well and get open down there. But that's something we don't see a lot too. I mean, Kirk does seem to throw a lot of shorter throws, but outside of Justin Jefferson, it's not really. You don't see a lot of like little slants that you just get them to and there's extra yards other than Justin Jefferson. With both KJ Osborne and Thielen right now, it's more of I forgot what it would be, like a curl where they run and turn around, catch it. Maybe Thielen will run back, 3 yards to get out of your grasp and then turn around upfield 6 yards or something like he did today. But yeah, I think that would be a really good addition, especially bringing that veteran presence at the same time.
Yeah.
But he is also a guy that if you were to get, he is getting older, and who knows, he could be slowing down sooner than later compared to the guy that we have number 1.
Which we have Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor. Why not add another member of that 2020 wide receiver draft class in Jerry Jeudy? Now Jerry Jeudy in that draft class was the top guy. People were thinking, he was a surefire, like can't miss prospect at wide receiver, and so far in his career, hasn't really shown that yet. Again, I will attribute that to spotty quarterback play. But so far this season, 30 catches, 449 yards, 3 touchdowns. We've seen him have big games. Week 1, 4 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. But with the way that offense has been this year and the quarterbacks have had in the past, I feel like Jerry Jeudy's best football is yet to come in his career.
Yes.
Obviously, the guy's got a ton of talent. I mean, all those. He was an Alabama guy, right? All those Alabama receivers just are fantastic. So I think his best football is ahead of him. You put him on a team like the Vikings where he doesn't need to come in and be the guy. He can pair with Justin Jefferson, put him in that spot. Watch out, man. That could be a very lethal combo. I think their asking price is going to be really high for him personally, but it'd be interesting to see us pull him in. I think he's easily the number 1 guy. And at 6'1", get another big body in there with some speed. I would love it.
Speed and amazing route running. I mean, that's what he's known. He's known as one of the best route runners to come into the draft when he did get drafted. And he is a fantastic route runner. And I think that is something else that we need. Is I do think our wide receivers are struggling a little bit to get open, other than Justin Jefferson. And I would like to get another guy in there. I spoke about it earlier, another guy that can get open. So Kirk, when he is getting protected well, we got some guys, other options to get open in the field.
Yeah, for sure. But again, don't know if the Vikings will make any moves. They don't necessarily have to. Obviously, we put a lot of offensive players on here because I feel like the offense isn't as explosive as it could be. And I think it's because they are missing a really top tier second piece in that receiving game. So adding any of these receivers, I say the top 3 are the ones I'd want the most. If they bring in Gesicki, I'm going to be like, okay, fine. But if they can get one of these top 3 guys on here, watch out. This offense could become extra lethal, especially with Kevin O'Connell improving as a play caller, Kirk getting more comfortable. The offensive line, they weren't very good against Arizona, but they've had some good games. If they can stay solid, watch out. This offense could be lethal. But who knows? We'll see if they do anything. Time will tell. We'll know by tomorrow, obviously. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. And I'm sure there'll be some other big moves. There's already been a couple, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. So let us know what you think about what. Go ahead.
Oh, I said it's gonna be crazy.
Oh yeah.
Gotta bring that back. I haven't said that since the off season.
Right.
But it's trading time, so it's time to bring it back.
There we go. Anyway, let us know what you think of our picks down in the comment section. If we missed one, you guys have some ideas, put those down in the comment section as well. And we'll see you guys next time on GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.